Hi, I'm Quinn. I'm going to share my Ignite talk for Module 7, focusing on the 7 different strategies that we learned in our class. The first thing I wanted to share is this graphic, and I liked it because it showed how I started at the beginning of the semester having just a few strategies, and now I feel like I am blooming with different things that I can use in my classroom when I go back in the fall. Formative assessment and summative assessments were a big focus. Formative assessment, of course, being adjusting teaching and learning as needed, whereas summative assessment is the final determining factor of how they were competent. This graphic shares that different ways that we can assess formative assessment through self-assessment, peer assessment, portfolios, and summative assessment can be done through tests, exhibitions, or rubrics. And in strategy 2, talking about targets, they need to be teacher given, student understood, always student friendly, rubrics communicate learning target, guides instruction, targets are explicit, and we need to make sure to take time to review them throughout the lesson. Students take ownership of their targets by recording them in daily journals, discussing with a partner, reviewing throughout the lesson. So we make sure that students know what we're talking about the entire time. Strategy 3 focused on effective feedback. Intervention feedback identifies needs of improvement and provides enough information so that students understand what to do next. It is our job to make sure that they're clear on where to go. We can do this through effective feedback. I like the way you added details to your story rather than ineffective, which would be great job. Or it looks like you had some trouble telling the difference between rectangles and triangles. Be sure to count the sides as opposed to go back and try again. We can also gain information through these formative assessments that were shared. I particularly liked the Kahoot, Plickers, and Google Forms as you can get a lot of information instantly to the students. And strategy 4, it focused on self-assessment. These were just 2 graphics that I found that are ways that students can allow teachers to know how they are doing throughout the lesson. And one thing that I really took away is that we need to make sure that we are very specific and helping students figure out what their goal is and follow through with that. In my district, we use SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And we can see where we are now, where we want to be, and how do we plan to reach their goal. Strategy 5 focused on looking at the problem and why students were getting confused. Was it incomplete understanding? Was it a flaw in reasoning? Or was it a misconception? It made so much sense to me to make sure that you were reteaching based on what their issue was. And that took us right into the feedback loop. So where are our students? Now that we know where they are, we choose from different strategies that we have, and then we take action. And that is how we find success. Strategy 6 talked about that focused practice. And I liked this quote. Sometimes teachers will bypass the feedback loop and move straight to grading. And it's so true, yet so scary that we are leaving these kids behind. So we need to make sure that our practice is spaced out over time and not massed practice to really get the most bang for our buck. In the last strategy that we didn't talk a whole lot about, but when I was reading up on it, I realized that it's really about having students celebrate their successes. They can do this by recording information, keeping journals, and using portfolios. And then that takes us right into how they can share their information with parents. I love the idea of having students join conferences and they can share their artifacts in person and really explain how their successes have gone. Moving forward, these are my biggest take 3. Number 1, formative assessments help drive instruction. 2, effective practice will lead to success. And 3, students need to be involved with the process from the beginning to the end. And that's a wrap. I hope you learned a little bit from my presentation. I know I have taken a lot away from this class, and I look forward to hearing from you in your comments. Thanks so much.